My brother, my sister, some of the worst problems in your life didn't come from enemies, destiny, or fate. They came from your own mouth. You spoke when you should have stayed silent. You revealed what Allah told you to keep hidden. You argued when silence would have protected you. You trusted people who were never meant to hear your secrets. You announced blessings that weren't ready. You reacted in anger when patience would have saved you. And now you're hurt, confused, and wondering why everything feels heavy. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Allah already commanded you to control your tongue. You just refuse to listen. This reminder isn't about silence. It's about survival, spiritual, emotional, and personal. Silence, my brother, my sister, is not always about staying quiet. It is about knowing when Allah wants you to pause, when your next word could either elevate you or destroy you. There are times when speaking becomes a form of disobedience, not because what you're saying is haram, but because Allah is testing whether you can hold yourself back. He is testing whether you can control your tongue before it controls your destiny. You have to understand something very clearly. Allah knows what your heart is carrying, what your mind is wrestling with, and what your tongue is ready to spill. Sometimes He places a heaviness in your chest to stop you from saying something that could harm you later. But instead of recognizing it as protection, you treat it as a burden and you push your words out anyway. And that is where the damage begins. Silence for the sake of Allah is not weakness, it is strength. It is discipline. It is knowing that you don't need to win every argument. You don't need to respond to every attack. And you don't need to explain yourself to every person. When you choose silence, you are choosing clarity over chaos. You are choosing your akhirah over a moment of ego. You are choosing dignity over impulse. Sometimes silence is the shield Allah gives you. You may not notice it immediately, but later you'll see how many problems never entered your life simply because you held your tongue. You avoided gossip that would have stained your heart. You avoided an emotional response that would have destroyed a relationship. You avoided revealing something that someone could have used against you. You protected your peace without even realizing it. Your silence is not empty. It is an act of worship. It is a moment where you submit your emotions, your anger, and your reactions to Allah. It is you saying, Ya Allah, I could speak, but for your sake, I choose not to. And when you do that, Allah replaces what you held back with something far better: wisdom, patience, inner strength, and a cleaner heart. You don't always need to speak to be heard. Sometimes Allah hears you the loudest when you stay silent for Him. You think people care as deeply as you do. You think they're listening with sincerity, holding your words with gentleness, guarding your secrets the way you would guard theirs. But the reality is far harsher. Most people are not equipped to carry your pain, your plans, your weaknesses, or your dreams. And yet you hand these things over so casually, thinking you're just sharing or venting, when in truth you're giving people access to parts of your life they were never meant to see. You must understand, not every ear deserves your voice. Not every person has the maturity to handle your vulnerability. Some people listen only so they can repeat your words to the next person. Some listen to judge you. Some listen to store your mistakes as evidence for the future. Some listen with jealousy simmering quietly inside them, and some don't listen at all. They simply wait for their turn to speak. When Allah tells you to guard your tongue, it's not only about avoiding sin, it's about protecting your heart from the wrong audience. You think by speaking you're releasing your burden, but many times you're transferring that burden to someone who will use it against you, twist it, misunderstand it, or spread it. You think you're trusted, when in reality you're exposed. Your thoughts are precious. Your experiences are delicate. Your worries are personal. Not everyone has earned the right to stand at the door of your heart. And the moment you speak too freely, you give people a kind of power over you that they never deserved in the first place. How many times have you regretted telling someone your good news? How many times did your excitement turn to envy in their eyes? How many times did your private struggle become a public conversation? How many times did your honesty become gossip? Your vulnerability become entertainment? You keep assuming everyone around you has pure intentions. They don't. Some do, but many don't. And Allah, in His wisdom, teaches you to speak carefully because He knows what you cannot see: the hidden jealousy, the subtle resentment, the quiet insecurity, the unspoken competition. When you stay silent, you are not pushing people away. You are protecting what Allah has given you. You are keeping your blessings unexposed. You are guarding your wounds while they heal. You are maintaining dignity that speech would have shattered. Silence does not isolate you. It elevates you. It allows you to function without constantly being misinterpreted, judged, or misunderstood. Think of the most peaceful moments in your life. They were usually moments where your tongue was calm, your heart was guarded, and your mind was not entangled in people's opinions. The more you speak, the more you invite unnecessary energy into your world. And the more unnecessary energy you allow, the more complicated your life becomes. Keep your circle small. Keep your words fewer. Keep your heart guarded. People don't need to know everything. They don't need your private thoughts to respect you. They don't need your struggles to empathize with you. And they certainly don't need your dreams to help you reach them. You owe your honesty to Allah first, not to people. And when you learn to give your secrets to the one who never betrays, you'll stop feeling the urge to explain yourself to those who were never meant to understand you in the first place. You keep wondering why certain people suddenly changed, why relationships shifted, why someone who once smiled at you now carries a quiet bitterness. And you assume it's life, destiny, misunderstandings, anything but yourself. But sometimes the truth is painfully simple. Your own tongue created your own enemies. You don't realize how quickly words travel. You don't realize how deeply they cut. You don't realize how easily they expose you. Many of the conflicts, tensions, and betrayals in your life didn't appear out of thin air. They were planted by things you said without thinking, words spoken in excitement, frustration, pride, or vulnerability. You shared your blessings too early, before they were stable. You exposed your plans before Allah had completed them. You admitted your weaknesses in front of people who were not strong enough to respect them. You discussed your private matters with people who only pretended to care. And each time you spoke without wisdom, you put another brick into a wall that eventually separated you from those very people. People are unpredictable. Some will support you, some will encourage you, but many will begin competing with you the moment they hear something good is coming your way. Others will quietly resent you. Others will wait for the right moment to undermine you. And some will smile at you while planning to use your own words against you later. Your tongue, when unguarded, gives people exactly what they need to turn into enemies, not because Allah wrote enmity between you, but because you handed them the material. Think about how many times you suffered because you opened your mouth too soon. Think about the job, the opportunity, the relationship, the project you announced prematurely. Think about the friend you trusted with your fears only to hear your own words echoed in a room you never entered. Think about how someone twisted your sentences just enough to paint you differently. If you had stayed silent, half of your heartbreak wouldn't exist. Even the Prophet ﷺ taught us that strength is not in physical power, it's in controlling your emotions. And your tongue is the first place those emotions show. When your heart gets hot, your tongue becomes reckless. And when your tongue becomes reckless, your life becomes unstable. Enemies rarely form from silence. They form from information you provided, words you didn't filter, opinions you blurted out, secrets you shared, thinking no harm will come from this, but harm came. It always does. This is why Allah teaches you to guard your speech, not to make you paranoid, but to make you wise. Your silence closes doors that shouldn't be opened. It hides your blessings from the eyes that can't handle them. It prevents people from entering spaces in your life they have no business occupying. You need to stop assuming everyone will understand your heart. They won't. Stop assuming people will interpret your intentions correctly. They can't. Stop assuming your honesty guarantees loyalty. It doesn't. Let people wonder. Let them speculate. Let them stay out of your inner world. When you speak less, you give people less to judge, less to twist, less to react to, and less to use. When you stay silent, your dignity stays intact. When you stay silent, your enemies stay confused. When you stay silent, Allah becomes the one who represents you. And that is a far safer position than letting your tongue do the fighting for you. You underestimate how much trouble your tongue creates long before you ever notice it. You think sins begin when the action happens, when the gossip is spoken, when the argument explodes, when the trust is finally broken. But almost every spiritual wound, every damaged relationship, every emotional regret starts much earlier with one unnecessary sentence, one careless response, one moment where you chose emotion over wisdom. You don't see the ripple effect because it starts small. A harmless comment becomes a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding becomes offense. Offense becomes anger. Anger becomes distance. Distance becomes resentment. And resentment becomes a broken connection that cannot be repaired. But all of it began with one moment where silence would have saved you. Backbiting never begins with hatred. It begins with a casual, pointless conversation. Arguments never begin with rage. They begin with a simple reply that didn't need to be said. Betrayal never begins with malice. It begins with sharing something that should have remained private. Every major mistake in speech is born from a small, avoidable one. This is why Allah emphasizes your tongue so heavily, because the smallest sins can grow into consequences that take years to clean up. One sentence can destroy trust that took a decade to build. One heated reply can end a friendship. One careless comment can create a rift in a family. One complaint can ruin someone's reputation. One emotional outburst can stain your own. If you pause just for a moment, you avoid a lifetime of regret. When you pause, your anger cools. When you pause, your mind clears. When you pause, the conversation shifts. When you pause, Shaitan loses his opportunity. When you pause, Allah protects you. But when you speak instantly, emotionally, impulsively, you hand over control of your life to your feelings. And feelings are terrible decision makers. How many sins would disappear from your record if you simply stopped yourself for 3 seconds before responding? How many arguments would never escalate? How many relationships would still be intact? How many nights of guilt would you have avoided? How much dignity would you have preserved? Silence is not the absence